and has been very generous in helping us with the technology. So
I want to say that. I want to say that I enjoyed being secretary for a year, and I'd like to encourage the non-officers of the commission to consider it, because I learned a lot doing that. Paying attention, you had to pay attention to the meetings, and especially as a new commissioner, I found it really helpful to do that. And so I think it's a good thing to do. I'd keep doing it, but I've been told that running a committee, which I've never done before, would be time consuming. And so that's why I'm stepping away from it. But I would encourage the non-officers to do it.
Commissioner Zeldin?
Yeah, let me just say, as many of you know, my mom passed away on December 15th, and I'm going to be up and back to New York for probably the next 6 or 8 months as we try to get her estate in order, sell her house, clean out the possessions, do probate of the will and all that stuff. And I'm going to be lucky to make meetings, no less, keep notes of them. So I apologize, but I have that priority in my life and I can't abdicate.
So not to prolong this, just sign me up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Sherman.
Right.
All right.
But I will look at an automation process.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Hey,
you.
can I just say one thing?
Sure.
Which is, there's a program, Peter, Nate, Bruce named, which I use for my podcast, which is Riverside, which is another platform just like Zoom, but it creates a written transcript of the conversation in real time, and it's right there and available as soon as the Riverside call ends. So we might want to look at that as a platform instead of Zoom, and you'll have a complete transcript right in front of you.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Kent, it looks like the slate would be Chair Gore, Vice Chair Gosselin, Secretary Sherman, Treasurer Ferguson.
Okay. Just so you know, again, Kent Base, OANC, since didn't introduce myself earlier. And I'm happy to do this, but because I wasn't prepared for it, I didn't look at your bylaws. So sometimes I know that commission bylaws have specific rules. So that said, typically when one runs the election, we ask for nominations. It sounds like there's a slate, and at the slate, again, you as chair, if I got this correct, Peter Gosling as vice chair, Bruce Sherman as the secretary, and Commissioner
Zach
Ferguson as the treasurer. Okay. So I will just ask if in addition to that slate, are there any other nominations from the floor for any of those positions? Wow, you're okay. Again, are there any other nominations? You don't rush it. Okay. Then hearing that there are no other nominations, all those in favor of approving that slate, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Congratulations for the next 12 months of your life.
Thank you. All right, now we're all official. Okay, so we'll proceed on with the meeting. The next item under the administrative requirements for 2024 is adoption of the 2024 meeting schedule. And I already know we have some changes. If community members, you're looking on our agenda, we have the listing of the dates. One thing that is going to come out of that meeting schedule are the August 12th and August 26th meetings. The ANC is on recess during August, and I inadvertently left those in there. And then I think Commissioner Gosselin, there is a Jewish holiday that you wanted to change?
The first night of Passover is April 22nd, so I do not think we should meet on April 22nd.
Okay,
Okay.
we can.
And I
cut
don't
that.
know, I noticed that, I mean, that means, not that I'm complaining, but that means that we have quite a number of months where we only have one meeting. Now, most ANCs only have one meeting a month, but
exactly.
we seem to be able to fill up 2 meetings a month and then some. Do we want to add a date for April? Do we want to add a date for
No.
May? And do we want to add a, no,
No,
April has to.
no, it has
No,
one.
But I'm asking that we remove April 22nd because it's Passover. So, okay, fine, that's fine with me. I mean, I'm not,
Commissioner Sherman?
Just to note, I think someone else had already observed that we have on the schedule the 23rd of December as well. I think someone had already suggested.
What do
removing-
what do y'all want to do with that? Remove it?
I think that's a non-starter. It's too
Yeah,
close to
okay.
Christmas, yeah.
I agree, and I left that off. And let me just piggyback on Commissioners Goslin's thoughts on one meeting per month on certain months. I'm totally supportive of that. I had mentioned to some commissioners that we might want to consider once a month. We are one of the few ANCs that meet bi-weekly, and it's a lot. It's a lot on, I think, all of us trying to balance, community and family. And we're committed to keeping that balance. But if we do have a meeting that falls on a holiday, I've never been, highly supportive of putting another date, because I think it does give us a break.
okay, I just say one thing. If we turn out to have a lot of hot issues
We'll
that
do a
come up,
special meeting.
we'll do a
which is
special
what we
meeting,
do.
but
Right.
one of the things that's the advantages of having a schedule like this is we tell the Department of Parks and Recreation and we can reserve in advance. So we need to make decisions about special meetings actually 2 weeks in advance so that we can notify if we're going to stay within their timeframe of reserving this room.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's, typically what we've done.
Just another observation, we have a discussion coming up later on of emerging ongoing issues. I think we can anticipate that some of these would benefit from,
Absolutely.
proactively benefit as we put on the calendar a special session where we only focus for a couple of hours on one of these issues, since there isn't time usually within the context of a normal meeting to address them adequately. And I would just also offer to help on any of those in terms of structuring them, or if we do Zoom only conversations as opposed to being in person as well. I think these, when we get into these, I've spent a lot of time in the last couple of weeks reading up on some of these issues, and some of them are very complex, like the
Right.
boundary study for DCPS.
Absolutely. Okay, great points. Any other changes to the 2024 meeting schedule? Okay, so just to go over them, we have January 8th and 22nd, February 12th and 26th, March 11th and the 25th, April 8th, May 13, June 10 and 24, July 8th and 22nd. No meetings in August, that's our recess, September 9th and 23rd, October 21st, November 25th, and December 9th. Commissioners, if there's no other questions on those meetings, I would ask that, I move that we adopt the 2024 meeting schedule as read and amended.
And Lisa, you'll post it on our website, right?
Yes. All those in favor say aye or raise your hand. Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Commissioner Ferguson, I'm gonna turn this next portion of the agenda over to you, the adoption of the resolution approving the ANC's participation in the security fund.
Yes, we voted on this last year. We're doing it again. This is our financial protection that we're entering into. It's, I think, a $50 check this year. So pending discussion, I move we approve a $50 payment for the fund.
Okay, I second the motion. Commissioners, did you hear that? The $50, okay, it's $50 fee that he's asking, that he's moved into us to approve participating in the ANC Security Fund. Any discussion on that, commissioners? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries 7-0 to participate in the fund. Perfect. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. We have 3 things. Both of them are previous December 6th and December 11th. And those are with amendments. I know commissioners have looked at those and submitted corrections, so we're approving them with those corrections. Can I have a motion? Well, I move to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioners, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, consent agenda is carried 7-0. All right, we are making great time.
We're actually on time.
I know, it is amazing.
There is a
Do-
college football game on tonight.
Oh,
Just keep in mind.
To the minute.
Oh, that's right, Michigan.
Yeah. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the ANC Resident Forum, and this is the opportunity of residents, both here and online, to discuss any issue that we don't have on the agenda. So it's a 15-minute forum. Commissioner Gosselin, I would ask you to look at the online portion because I just lost my connectivity to Zoom. Any residents in person that would like to add anything? Come on right up. Thank you. There it is.
Good evening. I have a question, or I have a comment about the proposed historic district that I saw was on the agenda for tonight. Should I talk about this now or wait till it
You
comes
can
up?
ask your question and
All right,
yeah,
well, as a comment.
okay.
So my name is Winston Sale. I live on the 3900 block of Military Road. And my wife and I have been saving for several years to build a family room addition on our house, which is 114 years old. I'm very concerned about the proposed historic district preventing us from building this addition when the time comes that we have the savings to be able to build it. I'm also very concerned about the potential for historic designation to greatly increase our cost of construction in excess of what we are already having to spend. I mean, the quotes that I have received are astronomical. I have 2 kids at Lafayette, and I've spoken with other, can you not understand what I'm saying? You're okay.
It's not you,
It's the echo, yeah.
Okay, sorry. So other Lafayette families who are in this proposed district are totally unaware of the rules that a historic designation will impose on their homes and the potential that it will have to prevent them from being able to modify their homes to accommodate their families' changing needs as their kids get older, like mine are. The organization that applied to create the district in October has not performed really any meaningful outreach to the impacted district that I'm aware of. I haven't seen it on the listserv. I haven't seen it on nextdoor.com. I haven't seen flyers or anything except for the one letter I got from the Office of Planning. They have not performed any outreach about the rules that this district will impose on homeowners. And this is especially true for families like mine, people that don't have the time to come to these meetings, who will be disproportionately impacted by a historic district designation. So I'm asking the ANC to make sure the meaningful community outreach occurs, including hosting a meeting with the Historic Preservation Office at a future ANC meeting. And I would greatly appreciate it on behalf of other people like me, if you could ask the organization who submitted the application to conduct some meaningful outreach to people beyond their immediate circle of support to try to build the kind of community support that this kind of change deserves. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lynch? Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Sale, you brought up a great point about parents not being aware. My brother is a Lafayette parent, and I think he and many of his the fellow Lafayette families miss a whole swath of ANC related issues just because of the busyness of their lives. Is there a venue or opportunity or place where the ANC could best reach Lafayette parents and other parents like yourself?
Well, so just, excuse me, just speaking to Lafayette, there is the LSAT, the parent organization for Lafayette.
Mhm.
They do an email. So if there were a meeting with the HPO here, that would be one way to advertise it, but it's not just Lafayette. It's the private schools that are in the area. It's also the churches that host aftercare and preschools that are in the area. I mean, there's at least 4 churches right here that all have preschools. So reaching out to the places that parents are at, right? So the schools, places of worship, just in this building even, for fencing and ballet and all the other events that happen here. And there's a Lafayette Parents Facebook group. So, I don't know if you or your brother are members of that, but to reach out that way.
That's really helpful. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Great question. Yep. Hi.
Sorry. I'm sort of a bookend to the previous speaker because I've lived here 23 years and raised my 2 kids here and renovated my house 2.5 times. And I know how tedious it is to go through the permitting process and anything in DC. And I'm unequivocally opposed to imposing a historic district on our homes and creating more hassles and more busy work for homeowners. I don't understand this notion that this is going to give us a voice. What it does is it takes away your neighbor's choice, and some of our neighbors are trying to impose that on the others. So I support his position in getting more information out about it, but I also want you all to know that there's a lot of people in this community who are opposed to it. We said so 15 years ago, and we're going to say so again. Thank you. I'm
Thank
Phyllis
you.
Jordan. I don't know if I said my name.
Thank you. Any other community members present have anything? Any other?
I don't see anyone online. If you are interested in speaking, those of you online, please put up your hand. That function is down in the menu under reactions at the bottom of your screen. Recognize hand gestures. Otherwise, we'll move on.
Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the next item in the agenda. Thank you to speakers, community members for your comments. We appreciate that. And we will start with the BZA presentation with Commissioner Lynch for Snyder.
Elena, are you online right now?
I am online and I am closing the door because I can hear somebody screaming dinner's ready. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Thank you for being here. And if one of the hosts could allow Elena to share her screen, that'd be great.
I just made you co-host, Elena.
Awesome. Okay. So, hey, thank you for welcoming me to this meeting. I'm on the other side of Rock Creek Park. My office is in Tacoma, but I work throughout the city, and I'm coming to this presentation because I was hired to design an additional dwelling unit on Patterson Street for Andrea Bosch. And because the floor plan of the additional dwelling unit exceeds the limit of 450 square feet, we were asked to apply for an exemption with Board of Zoning adjustment. Today, I'm going to very briefly describe the building that we're doing. I'm going to show floor plans and 3D perspectives and a few pictures of the existing conditions of the building. So let me start here by, let's see. I have a lot of buttons to choose from. It's a lot more complicated than what I normally do. Give me a second. No, let me see, share screen. Is it share screen? No. Do you know how I can share my screen? Okay, here we go. So what you're looking at right now is raise your hand if you can see my second screen.
Yes.
We can see it.
Okay, cool. So what you're seeing is a portion of the documents that we presented to Board of Zoning Adjustment to show the project that we're doing. This is an existing garage that we're adding a portion of a building to make it a 1-bedroom apartment. This is in the front, we have a single family freestanding home facing Patterson Street. On the alley of Patterson Street, there are other garages that remain underused for either storage or parking, and I'm going to show pictures later. So this is the lot that we're talking about. Is I can tell you later the application number for Department of Buildings and BZA. This is the freestanding house. As you can see, is a very traditional way of siting the buildings on the front. That means that the rear yards are not visible from the street. They're not currently visible, and that it's not going to change. Ms. Bosch, Andrea Bosch, has a masonry garage that's super tiny, and I'll show you pictures later. It's quite adorable, actually. And we are creating an addition while preserving the rear structure. So the view from the alley is going to be limited. This is going to be a 1-story addition, so we are well within the setbacks and the heights required by zoning. So the only exception that we're going after is the area coverage, not the area coverage, the size of the building. Additional dwelling units are only allowed to be up to 450 square feet. They're super, super tight. So we're going for that exemption. In a minute, I'm going to show you details. This information obviously will be public once the Board of Zoning approves it, and I'm also happy to share it with the ANC staff if they require it. You can see in this perspective what is the current situation. That the front of the houses are Patterson Street, the rear is the alley. As you can see, it's one of those situations where you have multitude of garages, which actually it's fun for me as an architect. I tend to get really excited about renovation of small buildings. So this is the existing garage right now. It's brick with a wood structure on the roof, and we are creating a single slate roof with a very sort of creative connection between the two buildings. That's where the entrance will be. Board of Zoning requires, as you can see, also the height of the building is barely above what the existing building is. We have very few openings facing the neighbors, so that shouldn't affect the privacy or the use of space. That's something that Board of Zoning is really concerned about when they send us for an exemption process. The biggest windows, aside from the interior yard, are going to be open in this area right here, that it's going to be parking, which is the one that has the most distance from the neighbor. These are the elevations of the building. This is the proposed view towards our own client. This is the view towards the neighborhoods, about 5 or 8 feet from the neighbors, and this is towards our own parking area and patio area. We assume that the client's going to also use it for entertainment. And this is the floor plan that we're actually proposing. This is more architectural in nature. This is the alley in the back. Obviously, for scale reasons, we're not seeing the front. This area here is going to be used as a patio and parking. I'm going to enter through this connector bridge and an entry. We have kitchen and a living room, pretty spacious, tons of natural light. And then on the other wing, which is the existing garage, it's going to be a bedroom and a bathroom with a closet and other architectural features. So because we're recovering the masonry building we have, and we're even reusing all the openings, it's a pretty, it's been fun to design, but also very tough. This is a roof plan. As you can see, very, very simple lines. Hold on a second. Somebody's about to call for dinner. I'll be there in a second, okay? I'm presenting, I'm sorry. Okay, close the door, please. This is the existing floor plan. I told you guys that they were gonna call me for dinner. This is the existing floor plans. It's very traditional, hasn't been altered significantly since the original build. You know, bedrooms on top, social spaces in the main floor and a basement. The garage here is the footprint of the garage. It's very small, actually, once you see it. This is a shadow study that Board of Zoning requires that we show how it's going to affect the neighbors. And fortunately, the shadow studies, I'm going to show you the 3D is much easier to see. The proposed building is not going to affect the neighbors in a negative way. It's not going to affect the potential for solar. It's not going to affect the potential for, you know, farming or growth or landscaping, which is also another concern when we do additions. Here, so you can see it in the other angle. And this is the perspective. This is in the winter, which is pretty interesting what Board of Zoning asked for, because they ask you to push what is the worst situation you're going to be facing. So these are other views of the same, and it's the floor plan that actually is going to look. Let me show you real quickly. Let me know, are you seeing photos right now on your screen? Yes, okay, so this is the front of the house. As you can see, the house is like heavily landscaping the front. We're not touching any landscaping in the front. So the front of Patterson Street will remain like nobody will see what's going on in the back. This is the rear view of the house from the inner yard. So you can only, the views from here are going to affect only the homeowner. And this is the little garage we're actually working on, and the addition is going to be behind that like basketball field. So also because of the landscaping area, the addition is going to be barely visible through the alley and by the neighbors. And this is where this door and window, this area is where the addition will go. So that is a presentation. I know you have a lot of items in the agenda, so I'm happy to answer questions. And if something comes up in the future, I'm always happy to address them in writing.
Well, thank you for being here. I don't have any questions right now unless other commissioners do.
One question I have for you is what the conversation has been with adjacent neighbors. Have you talked to adjacent neighbors, and were there
Yes.
any issues they raised?
Yes, so as part of the Department of Buildings and Board of Zoning, we communicated with them, we showed them the drawings, and they fill out the forms, and they showed no objections. As part of the construction, we stated that we don't plan to access their yard, and they didn't show, they're actually very excited about this building. So they signed the form, and we plan to communicate with them as we plan the construction of the project to avoid because it could be a little bit noisy and, you know, trash could fly, but so we're going to take care of that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You can make a motion.
So I move that we support this BZA application.
Okay, commissioners, it's been moved and properly seconded to accept this BZA application. Any other discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries to support it. Thank you, Commissioner Lynch.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I will disconnect next.
Thank you. And if you need any help, Commissioner Lynch, with submitting, because you know you'll have to fill out, I think, the information online showing the ANC support.
Okay, yeah,
Okay,
happy to, thanks.
No
Thanks for the
problem.
reminder.
Yep. Commissioner
Bye.
Ferguson, your BZA is up next on Huntington.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to turn this over to our local resident, Nat Mason. He's been before our commission last year, so he's not a new face, but I'll turn it over to him so he sent around the slideshow for everyone to see, and I'll let him take it away. Thanks, Matt.
Okay. Oh, yep. You have them? Okay.
I see where he is, but I don't see how to make him forward.
Let me see if I can do it.
He's on the second.
Second screen. And there you go. Got it. Okay,
Okay, you should now be.
you should be able to do it. Laura, do you have a question about the presentation?
No, I wanted to make sure that Peter's getting my comments about the streetlights because it said that Peter's no longer in the meeting.
Sorry, I was not looking at chat.
Okay, I'll make sure you
I'll
have it.
get that, Laura. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay to go?
Yep.
Good evening. My name is Matt Mason. I'm a homeowner here at in Washington DC at 3747 Huntington. And part of this project requires a Board of Zoning adjustment. Hence, I'm before you today to seek your endorsement for this adjustment and to ultimately make a more enjoyable neighborhood. I say that not in a cliche matter, but I do mean that sincerely. First, some administrative notes. Zach, I know you're at the airport online, but this is the information you'll need to, if you do decide to endorse this. Hearing with the Office of Zoning is set for the March 14th. That's a Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. And the ANC neighbors all within 200 feet have been mailed through the Office of Zoning. And Commissioner Gore, to your point, I've personally talked to each neighbor, north, east, south, and west. And also my neighbor that's west of 38th on the west side of the property.
Okay, thank you.
The goal here is two exceptions. One is the rear yard requirements. The rear yard requirement is a 25-foot setback. We come to 11.8 feet. And we also exceed the maximum ratio of square footage on the property by 4%. I'm not an architect. I'm a military officer, so please bear with me as I'm learning through this. This is the current garage. Under the current construction project that we have ongoing, the building permit required us to destroy this garage, to demolish it. It was built about 80 years ago. And that's actually a good thing. It was in pretty bad shape. But because the addition encroaches on the garage had to be demolished, but I still wanted to keep the garage. So hence I'm here today for the BZI. This is the north side and the east side of the garage. And then again, the west side and the south side of the current garage. And again, we destroyed broke down about half of it to make a staging area for the current construction project that we have on site. If we look at the current construction project, this is what we have ongoing. Again, okay, so the main construction project that we have ongoing now has already been permitted. But this gives you a sense of what the garage looks like in relation to the other parts of the neighborhood from the northwest, south, southwest, and northeast side. So I think fair to say it looks in the image of the neighborhood. It's not overly outside of the scope or scale of the neighborhood, which is something the Office of Zoning looks at closely. I talked a little bit about the summary. Again, the 4% big overmax and the 25-foot to 11.8 setback. The burden of proof, this is the kind of the legal justification that the Office of Zoning looks at on chapter 12 of DC municipal regulations, and one of them is light and air. When
When I did my own shadow study, the maximum height of the garage is 12 feet. Washington DC sits at the 38th parallel, which at the most, when the shadows are the greatest time of year, it's about 1.7 times the height of any structure. So that extends to about 20 feet, which does not touch any buildings in the vicinity of the garage. The privacy, use, and enjoyment, I think this is actually interesting. The current garage actually encroaches. It's actually on my neighbor's property. And I hope to correct that with this when I rebuild the garage in a better state. The garage, again, was built 80 years ago. There was not a wall check that was completed, and it now encroaches on my neighbor's property at 3726 Ingomar, about 3 inches onto their property.
Wow.
I think it's kind of funny that we'll actually improve their use and enjoyment. And then also the visual intrusion of character and scale. I have some pictures here and I'll show you in a minute that talks about that. And I think you'll agree that it doesn't do that. So that's my own little shadow study there. I don't have high-tech architectural software to find out, but I'm pretty quite confident that 20.4 would be the maximum distance of the shadow. And actually during the solstice this year, I went out there and saw it on December 22nd, and it was about right there where that shadow extends. So it's kind of interesting. So that'll be the garage as we see it now. Again, it's on the north side of the property. Again, this is an architectural schematic, but yeah. Again, this is the current state. This is what we hope to make it the eventual state. Again, much more clean lines. We'll clean up some of the shrubs that run there and stuff, so it doesn't have the mildew and the black mold that it kind of tends to plague the former structure. With that, I conclude and look for your support and see if you have any questions or concerns. Thank you.
Commissioners, you have any questions? Zach, do you want to put a motion on the floor?
Yeah, I move that we report favorably on this application to the BZA pending any other comments or questions. Thanks, Matt. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion, commissioners? All right. With that, all those in favor of the motion to approve this BZA application, say aye.
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 Any opposition? Any abstentions? The motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. 2 great projects. That's good. Thank you so much.
Can I make an observation? Listening to these 2 presentations, which I just supported, so it's not about the presentations. Rest assured, and post facto, I'm going to bring up a concern. It has to do with the disparity between what a homeowner is required to demonstrate to BZA in consulting with neighbors and what a developer coming into an existing property does not have to do. And I've lived this experience with 6616 and 6116 and 6118 30th Street. The properties that are now nearly fully built, that are gargantuan houses and have engendered the utmost ire and concern of neighbors and my constituents for blocks around. And in that particular case, the only consultation that needed to happen was with the immediate adjacent neighbor, Tony Kornheiser, who called me and told me that he sold his property because of the development and was the only one who needed to be consulted. None of the neighbors back on 31st Street, on Utah, further down on 30th Street needed to be consulted. And as a consequence, speaking of a development that is completely out of scale with the neighborhood, that has no architectural consistency, these 2 properties epitomize that. So I am working with Michael Zeldin on another property on 34th Place, which he knows very well, and the commission has heard us on this with respect to a raise that was meant to be a demolition. I want to look at working with the commission and working with the Department of Buildings and with our council members to suggest legislation that would require, and legislation used to exist on this score, that neighbors within 200 feet, again here, when a developer comes in, are given 15 days notice, are allowed to see the plans and have some voice in what's going to happen to their neighborhood, which in this case now they have no voice, very little voice unless they're immediate adjacent neighbors. So I just take the opportunity, having heard these two presentations, to comment on this and say that this has been very much on my mind, very much of concern to the neighbors, and something that I'd like to work with the commission on.
Thank you. I like that. So you're taking lead?
I am.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, Commissioner Zeldin?
Yeah, so Bruce, to this exact point, Nina Dodge and I were talking about this exactly this afternoon on the 34th Place thing, where the developer has just submitted new plans, which again seem to be contrary to zoning. She and I drafted an email that she is going to send to you, Bruce, Lisa, Janice's office, so that the zoning people and the board, the building people, take a hard look at this. But also we want to talk about the exact same issue that you and I have been talking about, which is the restrictions on this type of buildings without full consultation of the neighbors. So I'm all, to the extent I'm in the Washington DC area and have time on my hands, I will continue to work with you on this. But Nina is running point on 34th Place again, Bruce.
Just another quick note. For those of you that have traveled along Tennyson off of Oregon and have seen the unfinished property at 2717, the very large green clad, it's the wallboard in effect, the outside wallboard they've put up. That house has been sitting there now for more than a year. It's been declared vacant and blighted by the Department of Buildings. We are deep into discussions with the Department of Buildings to resolve this matter, because the property does not look to be completed anytime soon. And it is truly an Alice in Wonderland experience dealing with the various agencies, the DC government, to try to bring this to a conclusion. So this is something I think we want to talk further about, even have Director Hanlon come, Department of Buildings Director, come and speak to the commission about how we address these matters.
Sounds good. That's definitely an issue. Okay. Next topic on the agenda, commissioners. I hope you extend me some grace. Our annual report, as well as Kent, is not done. And so I will take volunteers if you all would like to help me do that. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, Ivy City. Okay, well, let me just skip to this. So on the annual report, anyone that would like to help, I will desperately work on it. Yeah.
What is the annual report?
Okay, so let's do Ivy City first, and then I'll go into that more detail. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, that was my mistake. I saw the wrong thing on the agenda. So on this portion of the agenda, I am introducing a resolution for Ivy City. I know, first let me see if Libby Martin or Corinthia Simmons is on the line that would like to speak on behalf of the Racial and Social Equity Committee. If so, raise your hand. And checking through the attendees, I don't see anyone from Ivy City on. But if you are and would like to speak on this, raise your hand as well. I saw it. Okay, so just a little background. This is a resolution regarding the Ivy City neighborhood, which is located in Northeast. It is a predominantly Black post-Civil War subdivision founded in 1873. Most of you all might be sort of familiar with the Ivy City area. It's around all the railroads and the industrial side of that portion of Northeast. I did a lot of community walks over there. One thing that I can tell you is that there is not only one polluting facility in the Ivy City neighborhood, it's multiple. The one that we're concerned with here tonight is called National Engineering Projects. They're located at 1950 Capitol Avenue in Northeast. The facility is actually owned by a family out of Chevy Chase, Maryland. This facility has been producing chemicals which have been found to be harmful, such as formaldehyde, which is a carcinogen. The DC Department of Energy and Environment indicated that the facility doesn't have a air quality permit because it opened prior to air quality permits being created and has a certificate of occupancy. From some later research, I believe they are in the process of trying to get an air quality permit. So hopefully that comes about. But some of the facilities, just to let you know, are regulated by EPA Toxic Substances Control Act and are designated as extremely flammable, causing skin irritation, eye irritation, odor. You know, some of them are, as I said, carcinogens, allergy, asthma symptoms, breathing difficulties, and things like that. In the resolution, I state the burden of reporting nuisance odors emitting from the chemical plant into the air has primarily been a responsibility of residents of Ivy City. I talk about the smell, which is nauseating, and the smell is of formaldehyde and burning tar during that process, and it's an ongoing nuisance. Ivy City neighborhood has submitted multiple complaints and demanded engagement with the Department of Energy and Environment and EPA. And despite audits and problems flagged, the odor continues to be a nuisance. Obviously, they're still due to the strong smell. And I can
I can't hear Lisa anymore. Are other people hearing Lisa?
I had the same problem. I'm trying to text them.
Thank you.
Looks like she's muted herself.
No, I can't hear either, but I'm wondering, maybe I missed it. Did the ANC from Ivy City ask us to join on to some kind of resolution?
Yes.
Laura, I agree with you that so far has not been part of the presentation that we've heard.
They did ask us. The Ivy City rep is under the weather, so she cannot attend.
Lisa, you do seem to be on mute, Lisa.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, but with an echo.
Yes.
Okay. We're having a bit of technical difficulty. I had to unmute and now it's causing a terrible echo. Give us about 2 seconds. Hang on. Can everyone hear me now? Okay, great. Thank you. All right. I acknowledge in the resolution that ANC's Racial and Social Equity Standing Committee submitted a memorandum to the ANC outlining their issues and concerns for the Ivy City community. Specifically, RACE recommended the ANC prepare a resolution recommending the immediate closure and removal of the National Chemical Products, Inc., and the ANC consider advocating for the facility's closure during the 24 budget oversight hearing cycle. The resolved in the resolution, it states that the ANC acknowledges and stands with ANC 5D in their fight for environmental justice and request the district DOEE and EPA to ensure that our neighbors in Ivy City are not subjected to hazardous ecological conditions. And ANC 34G concurs with RACE's recommendation and requests the plant cease use of toxic chemicals and adds further until it can prove without a reasonable doubt that there is an ability to manufacture without any harmful effects to the adjacent community and environment. And ANC 34G requests national engineering products, the district, DOEE, and EPA to take appropriate measures to make community whole if harmful effects from plant materials or operations are discovered. And Commissioner Gore is authorized to represent the commission on the matter. I would like for the race committee to talk a little bit about why they got involved in this. There are several ANCs across the city that have written resolutions in support of ANC 5D. So even though the facility, the community is not located in our neighborhood, this is a citywide environmental justice issue. The ANC has typically got involved in certain citywide issues before. I personally have been involved in this issue for several years and have attended several community events and have always advocated for that, community's continued health. So Corinthia, if you would like to say a few words, and then we'll take questions from the community and the commissioners.
Hi, I'll just echo what you stated about the race committee. We just wanted to support the Ivy City community and helping them have a quality of life that they deserve in closing or getting some type of remediation with the company from the Department of Energy. That's all I have to add.
Any questions from community members or feedback?
Yeah,
Community members. Community members.
oh, sorry.
Libby?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm sorry. I in my car coming back from Baltimore. I hope can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I simply wanted to say that this effort has been documented also in some videos that are widely available and on some news articles. Interviews have taken place with the residents, and I think that's it speaks for itself when you hear the experiences of the residents in this neighborhood who are literally raising a family in a wall that's adjacent to this facility, and how people in the neighborhood suffer from a higher level of asthma. There's just a bunch of health issues to consider. There's the asthma problems, there's the nausea, there are learning differences, and it's hard to know how much of this is related, but when people are breathing air that they feel is unhealthy, that's already a very bad starting point for this community. So I would really hope that, we will see that their request to our neighborhood as another ANC that could share their concerns would be something we would listen to. Thank you.
Thank you, Libby. Laura?
Yeah, hi. My question would be, is there a way to support removing these chemicals or businesses that use these chemicals citywide? Because while this is a neighborhood that may have been suffering longer and trying longer to get them out of the neighborhood, I wouldn't wish those chemicals on anyone, and I would hate to have them punted to another neighborhood.
That's a good point. I'm not sure of the answer, but we could, if the commission was amenable, we could put an additional resolved about our concern citywide. of this type of facility being within the city limits. We can work something like that out. Okay, thank you, Laura. I can use that as a friendly amendment to add a clause about that.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, any commissioner comments? Commissioner Nash?
Yep. This sounds, I've read about this in newspapers. So I think I'm glad you brought it up. Is our resolution different in any way from the one already passed by 5D?
This is pretty much.
It's the same.
With the addition, yeah, it's similar. I took the basis from it with the addition of the information for race, the information for the local media coverage. Yeah, but it's very similar. Yeah. Commissioner Lynch?
Yeah, I was wondering if it might be helpful to include language that is also directed at Maryland legislatures. If the person that owns this company is from Maryland and there's also business dealings with the federal government, I wonder if it would make sense to also include legislatures outside of DC, just to add support
On the distribution?
on the resolution. If that's something that we could do, or I'm just sort of throwing it out there.
Okay. So what language are you specifically thinking about?
Yeah, maybe not language, but when we send it out, to send it to
Maryland legislators?
Maryland
I
representatives.
got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Commissioner Gosselin, did you have a comment?
I just wanted to make sure I remember this correctly. We had a briefing on, besides the raised recommendation, didn't we have a presentation on this?
Yes.
When was that?
That was in maybe 2021, 2022? 2021, maybe?
Really that long ago?
Yeah, it's been a while.
All right, all right.
So this has been going on for a while. Yeah, it's been going on. EPA National has gotten involved, and that community, if I'm not mistaken, is designated as a environmental justice community. So the battle has been going on for a while, and we did have a presentation on it.
Well, I certainly second this, and I hope we pass it.
Okay.
Just a couple of quick questions.
Yep.
What pending action is our resolution in support of other resolutions attached to? And secondly, when we issue a resolution that's outside of our commission area, just educate me on the weight that attaches to our resolution. Is there, how do these things work?
So I think, to answer your first question, we're asking that they basically cease. So in the second resolve, we're requesting that the plant cease the use of toxic chemicals. We don't specifically say to shut down the plant. I don't know, and the reason why I didn't do that is I don't know what else they produce. If there's non-toxic chemicals, I'm not sure what their entire business line is. But we asked for them to stop producing toxic chemicals and to make whole, which includes the district, any harm that's been done to the community. So that's what we're asking for. In terms of great weight, and Director Bass, correct me if I'm wrong, this is not a great weight resolution. This is a resolution that's conveying, our thoughts and opinions. So in the sense of great weight, it doesn't get great weight because of the nature of the resolution.
Right. So the practical import then is, as I understand it, left to the company to feel the public pressure in effect.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And the city agencies. Yeah.
But the city agencies to act
Right.
with
Right.
respect to the.
So
to
the
company.
air quality permit. Yeah.
So in a matter like this, now this has come up in previous conversations, and Commissioner Ferguson has brought it up in terms of the sort of the technical requirements of a resolution to have, if not great weight, some impact at least, that typically if there is some pending action by a DC government agency that we can weigh in on, even if we're not in the commission area. So the great weight would be the ANC in that area. As I understand it, there isn't at this moment anything that the DC government is doing. This is calling on the DC government to do something, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Great. Any other questions, commissioners? Okay. With that, I move to adopt the resolution with as edited with the suggestion for community member Laura Finney and Commissioner Lynch. Do I have a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? And just for the record, Commissioner Ferguson is catching a flight, so he is not on the meeting. So the resolution passes 6-1.
6-0.
6-0. Right. I'm thinking, my mind, 6-0. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, so the next discussion and possible vote on the annual report. So the annual report, going back to Commissioner Nash's comment, is a requirement. ANCs are supposed to submit it, I think, by the end of November or November 1. And it's a compilation of all of our activities for the year. So it is really helpful when all of the commissioners send the chair, whoever that may be, what their activities have been, because it will make it easier to compile the report. Otherwise, the chair has to go through all the activities and get all of that compiled. So it's a lot of, it's a lot of work. I mean, it's doable, and I will definitely get it done and, for the next meeting. But if you guys, I think I sent you all an email a while ago, any meetings, any significant events, things that you want to add to that report would be helpful. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. So I want to, we'll move this discussion to January 22nd. I'll leave it on the agenda for the 22nd. Okay, so the next discussion is Commissioner Sherman came up with a good idea, and I think it's just for us to kind of get our head wrapped around some of the significant issues as we move into 2024. There's a lot that we are bringing over with us to the new commission year. And there is also a lot of emergent issues, what I call emerging issues, that are going to be upon us as well. So I copied the list that was submitted to the commission. I added the names of the commissioners that I know are currently working on those issues. There are some that do not have a commissioner attached to it, like the WMATA predicted budget cuts, the Chevy Chase Historic District, the boundary study assignment. So I do think this is a good time for us to kind of discuss, each commissioner can kind of discuss where they are, maybe where they, foresee themselves going. I know Commissioner Sherman has some ideas on how we tackle this in terms of engagement with the community. And I would definitely like, on the topics that we don't have a commissioner assigned to, get a commissioner assigned to that, so you can start scheduling meetings. Some of these, and Commissioner Sherman is 100% correct, some of these are very controversial and complex issues that we might need to spend dedicated time with the community, so we can start getting those meetings on the book. If I have anything that's left off that you guys are working on, we can add that to the list too, and just keep a idea of the running list. So with that, the first one, bioretention cell project, Commissioner Nash and Gosselin, y'all want to talk about that?
Well, before I do, could I just say that to set expectations with people who are here, I think that what we're doing here is mostly discussing among ourselves how we're prepping ourselves for handling these issues going forward. If we, which is another way of saying, we're not going to get into the substance of all of this tonight. I mean, any one of these issues could take a full meeting, multiple full meetings. And so I just want to make clear that, and I hope everyone agrees, my fellow commissioners agree, that we're not going to go to the nub of the matter with each of these things tonight. So with that, I'm on bioretention basins. Do you want to start, Jim?
Well, yeah, excuse me. I know mostly about what's going on 28th Street, because I heard loud and clear from the people there that this was a case of overreach on the part of the Department of Transportation. And we dealt with that issue. We passed a resolution on it. But then it's also come up elsewhere in Commissioner Gosselin's district too. And so what we then passed a resolution that asked DDOT to come here and explain to us more broadly what are the goals of this program and in what way are what they're doing going to further that. There are additional questions about the proper maintenance of these pits because it seems as though DDOT builds them, but then another agency maintains them, and that sounds like a bad setup. So there were a bunch of issues here, and I think I haven't heard anything back from DDOT about their resolution on 28th Street. And I have not heard anything back from them on whether they're going to come here. Have you, Commissioner Gosselin?
Can I make a general point here, which
Yeah,
is,
but let me say something specifically because I got a specific point to add. I sent an email. They are waiting on the picture. What we sent them, they could not open. I sent an email a while back when I had was out sick. If we could send them a picture of the proposed changes that the community is recommending. So on the good side, they haven't moved forward with the recommendation because they're waiting on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have not had that.
Okay.
I have not had access to my ANC email because of security obstacles. I have just solved them today.
Okay.
So I'll go back and figure out what I need to do about the
And
pictures.
if you could send that to Christian Panero. Thank you. Okay.
I'd just like to make a general point here. We've sent a number of resolutions on all sorts of issues, including the ones that occupied us the most in the last 6 weeks, which is on the community center library project. I don't think we've gotten responses for any of these things. And I mean, part of that's on us because we were so exhausted from the last debate, and then we went into the holidays. But I do think on a number of these issues that we focused on, and it's going to be true of the next one that we talk about, the street lighting. We've said things to the city, we've asked them for things, and they just have not delivered anything. So I hope we can follow up on a number of these issues with.
Although we did at least get them to slow down on 28th Street.
That was a huge gain on 28th Street.
Yeah.
And we're not done.
So you know, that not quite as bad, Peter. At least we got that. But
Can I make a quick suggestion, just in terms of, and in support of Commissioner Gosselin's point, that we don't tonight have the time or the inclination to get into the specifics of each of these. I had thought that what would be constructive tonight is to put these out for the commission to take a look at, to acquaint the community with the fact that we have these on our radar and that we're looking at these. And that if there are other issues that commissioners or members of the community wanted to suggest to us that should be on this list, and that commissioners might volunteer or suggest an interest in working on a particular issue where the names have not yet been assigned, and that we have, which we mentioned on email, an administrative meeting where we try to develop a more of a sort of a strategic plan or a work plan around these. I'll just give you one quick example. The boundary study is going to be delivered in March. The Deputy Mayor for Education has been conducting the study with consultants throughout all of 2023. Frankly, we're late to this game to be able to weigh in. There have been 3 public town hall meetings in May, September, and just in December. And you probably saw the email by Goulet over the weekend on the listserv, raising concerns about the boundary study and so forth. Point being that I think what we need to do is identify the issues and then set aside some time where we can get into how we want to work them and then set a plan to work those, prioritizing the ones that require our attention the soonest, like the boundary study. We're going to have to hop on that toot sweet to have any impact at all. So tonight, I was just thinking that we could just air these and then have folks identify interest in working around them, and then take any public comment on them and go from there, unless we get into the specifics of some of these, which I know we could jump into very quickly. Just a thought.
Okay. You have anything else to add on fire retention cells?
I don't think so. We have somebody here, but I think that is it good enough if we just don't take us all the way through this issue? Just if you want to comment briefly, go ahead. But I mean, since you went to the trouble of,
Lynch also.
yeah.
Piggybacking on 28th Street and the precedent that it set, clearly we're able to move things forward ourselves with an understanding that DDOT, yeah, I wrote it 1,000 times. What DDOT is proposing is being shuffled through without any regard to neighborhood environment and quality of life. And we've all discussed it, and we all have identified these individual key features. I just want to be able to make the statement, if I may, that I have been personally working on this in September, which is late to the game, but I think early to the end of this war. And I believe that we can be successful. The proposal that I've just handed you, we won't go into it, but I will say there are a few key things in there that are different, and they start to address how we might maintain these. And it starts with volunteerism, and I will be volunteering a portion of my year and time, even though it's small, but it's something that we can do each locally. And if we can pass this particular proposal and resolution, we can effectively show that we can move SBUs. We can facilitate their efficacy by being able to study them and actually have a control over each one of them. And the residents of that area would be the beneficiaries of these. And I have one question for DDOT, and I know they're not here, although there was a rumor that somebody would actually be here from them. And that is, are any of the retaining units that are going to be built on our city streets available for SBCs, the credits that are given to developers who are building somewhere in the city? And if so, that is an open space that can be bought and sold. And I am very interested to hear the answers to whether or not the modus operandi is being generated through monetary gain for these instead of the solely environmental benefits that these produce. Thank you.
Good, thank you. And I'd just say, I think I agree with Commissioner Sherman that strategizing about how to approach all these issues is important. I do think that we've had in our, not just our 28th Street resolution, but in a broader resolution, a request that DDOT come and talk to us on these issues, and we'll follow up on that. We need to, so thanks. So I'm set with that one.
I was just going to say, Chris has done a lot of work and a lot of research, and I know a lot of his neighbors and my neighbors have done the same, and they're very concerned about this, some of these bioretention pit issues. And so I think the more we can do to try to get DDOT here to speak with us and to have a meeting directed on this and soon would be great. We're in the new year now. A lot of the Civic Corps stuff is behind us, so it would be great to get that going.
Okay, so Commissioner Nash and Gosselin, we look forward to that from you all coordinating that. Street, alley, and light program is something we're carrying over. Commissioner Gosselin, that's yours as well.
I think that on this, I think that we still have, DDOT has been cooperative to the extent they've come out a number of times. You were at one walk through, and we did another one in late November. one of on some basic issues, they just have not come through. And one of those is that they promised us that they finally had gotten the shades that would keep light trespass into private homes and onto private property, would control that. And they acknowledged that they were behind in ordering these and had, as a result, a backlog. And they promised us that they would get through that backlog. And after they got through it, tell us, and thereafter, any citizen who has a complaint about light trespass could get a shade installed or get a response from DDOT within 5 days. We still haven't heard about that. I know that Laura Finizzi, who I've been working with on this, has continued concerns about the brightness of light. And in fact, in her last walkthrough with me, with the DDOT people, they kept saying the lights were meeting standards, which it didn't look to us like they were meeting. So I do think we're going to need to go out again with proper equipment. But that's where we stand on that issue. And I think this is something we're just going to have to ride herd on through the coming year. Laura, did you want to say a few things? Again, we're not trying to solve the issue tonight. We're just trying to sort of understand where we stand on these issues.
Yeah, I analyzed the database of lights in our neighborhood, which I got from DDOT with a FOIA. And there are about 2,000 lights, and about 670 of them were mischaracterized as having 2 different color temperatures. The warm colors are supposed to be in residential lights, and the slightly cooler temperature is supposed to be on commercial areas. And I would like the ANC to ask DDOT to come out and look with, they have a device called a multimeter, and look and see if they in fact put the wrong color lights or the right color lights on. Just do a sampling, because if they put in the cooler temperature, they're in violation of the contract and they need to be replaced. I found about 25 of them that are definitely the wrong color ones. And the other thing is there's a particular kind of measurement that I would like the ANC to ask DDOT to provide us for the fixtures. And I'll try to explain it in a simple way. Measuring the brightness of the old lights was like measuring the sound by a string quartet. Okay, all the light was of a certain type, right? This new light produced by LEDs is of a different type. So it's like adding 4 trumpets to your string quartet, but they're only counting the noise from the string quartet. They're not counting the noise from the trumpets. It's in science terms, they're called photopic lumens versus scotopic lumens. And I would like that ANC to ask for the scotopic lumen counts for the new fixtures, because I think that may be at the root of why residents are finding them disturbing and disagreeable, but at the same time, DDOT is claiming that they are in compliance.
Well, can I suggest that this issue, this level of technical debate, I think you and I need to hash out before we bring to the commission any sort of resolution. I mean, I didn't understand this discussion when it occurred in our walk around on November 30th. And so my suggestion about how we should handle this is that you and I ought to meet and work out what we should ask DDOT, and then bring something back that we can explain to the commission why we should ask for this. So that's how I'd handle this.
I mean, I can go with that, but I just think it's very concerning that they promised in November that they were going to fix the complaints from August, September, October. They still haven't given us any update.
I agree.
Yeah. And so I think without a formal resolution, they're going to just, give us the Heisman football game, right?
Okay. I think I saw a hand up, but let's see if we can get through this issue. We've got others. Whose hand is that? Susan?
Yeah, my hand's been up since the bioretention space discussion. I just have a question for the ANC. I was under the impression that there is a hard deadline at the very beginning of February when DDOT will finalize the placement of these spaces. And I know that the residents of my block in Chevy Chase Parkway, who have a petition with 100% of us opposing the placement, have been joining these meetings, the last 3 or 4 meetings, and it's been on the agenda each time, and you haven't discussed this. I'm really worried that we are going to end up with bioretention spaces in inappropriate places. And the ANC hasn't given us any time to look at this. Can someone confirm or say that we don't face a hard deadline at the beginning of February when the design will be frozen?
Susan, you're talking about bioretention basins, or you're talking
Yes.
about? Okay, so we've had that discussion. We have passed 2 resolutions on that. We agree that we need to follow up on those. I don't know about a hard February 1st or early February decision, but in any case, the subject on the table right now is streetlights. So I think we're set. We know some of what we got to do on bioretention basins. So, and I think
you took care of 28th Street and then a general resolution.
no, but we also passed a general resolution on this subject too.
Right.
And we.
But I'm just saying, if this is going to close, the design is going to close on February 1, we will have noticed, and we're in Commissioner Lynch's district, we will have noticed that the ANC has put this as an independent topic of discussion. I've been on all of the meetings. We've had very little time to look at it. We haven't had DDOT come. And, we're watching where you guys spend your time. And we're noticing that this issue that has a massive impact on
Could I make a suggestion that you send me your email and I will send you the 2 resolutions, rather sweeping the
personal visits to
and the personal visits by, we've been on this issue quite intently for some months. Now, I agree that that we need to get back to it and we need to reignite the requests that we made in our November resolutions on this. And it did not, although we did a separate resolution on 28th Street, we also had one that covered all the bioretention basins in our ANC. There was a discussion during the discussion of that broader resolution. There was some discussion about whether we should identify particular places other than the 28th Street. The decision, I think, was made that because I identified one that was right next to my house and Peter's constituents had others, that the better way to handle this was to say, look, we've got a broad concern about where you're putting in these bioretention basins and how big they are and who's going to maintain them. I think we do need to pick up the ball and push DDOT to come and talk to us, but I don't think it's fair to say that we haven't been on this issue. We've been very much on it.
Right.
Okay, I just to finish my thought, if you can find out for sure that we don't face a hard deadline at the beginning of February, then I'm happy for us to take more time. If we do face a hard deadline at the beginning of February, then I think this should be an independent topic on the next call. And we should have a few more neighborhoods that are included, not just 28th Street. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's move on. Commissioner Nash, I know Commissioner Ferguson isn't here. Would you like to add anything on the Connecticut Avenue bike lanes? That's one issue we have as well.
So, Zach, do you want to speak to
He's
this?
not on. Zach's not on.
Okay. All right. Well, Zach and I were both supposed to be on the Citizens Action Committee.
Advisory,
Citizen Advisory Committee, right. But that we have heard nothing from DDOT at all about that. And so I don't have any information on what they're doing. From what the last I heard through the grapevine was that they were redesigning the bike lanes to try to accommodate all sorts of competing desires for Connecticut Avenue's safety improvements. You have to remember Connecticut Avenue, people like to talk about Connecticut Avenue bike lanes like that is a thing, but it is a part of a larger project to improve the safety of Connecticut Avenue. Protected bike lanes are one part of that, okay? So I don't know where that is. It seems to be stalled. And then, of course, we had the police union not long ago come out against that portion of the improvements to Connecticut Avenue bike lanes that are the safety improvements that are bike lanes. All right, so that's where we are. That's not much, but that's all I've got.
Okay, let me go to, and excuse me if I mispronounce your name, Veronique online. You have your hand raised?
Yep, yeah, I do. Sorry, just was getting off mute. I don't know if you can see me, but I was actually wanted to speak about the bioretention units as well. I'm sorry, but I think there's been some really miscommunication here. For example, we have requested DDOT come meet with us. They have not. No one's come to Chevy Chase Parkway at all. So I think that 28th Street has gotten a lot of attention. We have not, and I had requested to look at those resolutions before they were finalized. I think I got a copy about 10 minutes before the last meeting. So I really had very little, and that was just to me, and we really had very little time to look at that or give our feedback. So I am a little concerned that, I feel like that the 28th Street folks, they did a great job mobilizing and got their attention, but we really have not gotten that attention. And we're very concerned because I don't know if if you look at the map, most of these are on Chevy Chase Parkway. And we are so close to Connecticut Avenue. So we have real concerns about where we're all going to park, where everyone's going to park. So it's like, you're probably sick of hearing about this issue, but we're very concerned because we don't know when this is going to happen. We don't know if we're going to come home and find bulldozers outside of our homes. And we just have no idea what's happening. And DDOT doesn't seem to be, wanting to reach out to us. So anyway, sorry for all the rambling.
Got it. Thank you. Mhm. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, Veronique, I hear you. Susan, I hear you. Chris is here tonight and I hear you guys. And this is top of mind for me right now. And I will be sending out an email tomorrow and getting in contact with DDOT tomorrow on behalf of you guys. So this is very much on my radar. Thank you for being at the meeting and reminding us.
Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Resolution to DDOT. They have an online portal that you can upload resolutions to.
That's the ANC portal.
We've said it. I'm sorry, you're looking for our resolution to them?
The idea being that we have all of Chevy Chase's hanging on to this meeting right now, because we just got all of these signatures and stuff. If we could take a quick vote and go ahead and pass this whenever, then you can free up value.
So let me just address that. I don't think the ANC is prepared to vote for it tonight. It's not on the agenda. So there's some technical processes that we have to go through. Commissioner Lynch, is this your district or who?
This is right. This is my SMD. And Chris, we can gather all the people that have signed on to this and send this off to DDOT. It would not be an official resolution. Maybe we could tack it on to a future resolution, but I think this is the new year. We have a lot of stuff behind us now. And so this is a priority in the next couple days. So absolutely. Yeah. And thank you for doing so much work on it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, work with your commissioner and he can put it in a, just like I did with the Ivy City, introduce it as an official resolution. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah, one other thing about Connecticut Avenue is that the plan calls for it ending at Legation Street right now. And the ANC has passed a resolution in favor of these safety improvements. Commissioner Ferguson and I had a resolution in which we would ask that the safety improvements be extended from Legation as far north as possible to the Maryland border. We pulled that back, that resolution last year, because we wanted to wait for DDOT to finish their final plan. And then we would be in a better position to discuss that resolution. We still haven't heard the DDOT final plan. And so that resolution that Ferguson and I had is still in abeyance. Okay. But right now, those safety improvements end at legation, and that everyone should be aware of that. Okay, thank you.
Okay. I want to get to, because we only have about 15 minutes left in this discussion. I think everyone is fairly up to date on where we are on Civic Core. We have to submit the one resolution, and we are waiting for the RFP to be announced in that phase of the process. Bruce, I think we're up to speed with Murray ECC. I don't know if you want to say anything briefly about that.
Only that there are issues that we've already talked about in the Murray Task Force group, and we'll talk again on Wednesday regarding neighbor concerns about artificial turf. The construction is imminent. It's about to start any day now, which the neighborhood will be experiencing directly with various impacts associated with that. But yes, this is something we can talk about further, but the artificial turf issue is something that we're going to have to come to address. And there are also, I understand, potentially interest in using artificial turf at Lafayette on the playing field there potentially. So there are some other issues around this that the community as a whole is going to want to weigh in on. Just on this particular exercise and on the bike lanes, I understand that the bike lane plan, Matt Barclay sitting right here from the mayor's office, he can probably tell us all about it, is largely done by DDOT and might even be sitting on the mayor's desk. The point about this exercise is to anticipate that we can see with some visibility these issues coming up. And we want to do our own calendar planning to allocate the time that we're going to need to address them, not only in these meetings, but in the engagement of the community, because obviously next to the Civic Core, the bike lanes have been the most controversial issue in the entire neighborhood. And when that plan comes, the revised plan, everybody in the neighborhood is going to speak out on it, and it's going to be our job to tap into what the community is feeling and thinking about all this. So it's not only that we would address these issues and wrap our minds around them as commissioners, it's that we would engage our public in terms of how they see these issues so we can represent their views. And therefore, in this admin meeting that I'm proposing, we would kind of do the calendar planning. We would say, okay, the likelihood is in February, we're going to be spending time on this, or March, or whatever it might be. Certainly on the boundary study, which we could go to, we need to look at that in the very near term. And I'm holding my hand up because I've got hundreds of kids in my single member district that go to Lafayette.
Right.
Yeah.
You and Zeldin, definitely.
And I just say with regard to bike lane, I think it's pretty opaque where that stands right now. I mean, so we'd have to do some reporting to figure out how to put it into our schedule, because I'm not sure we really have a good understanding of where that is. So
yeah. I mean, a lot of this would be notional, that we would just look ahead at things that are coming up, and they might not happen in the time frame we think, but at least we could be allocating time on the meetings, because our experience has been mine over the last year that things come up obviously somewhat spontaneously that find their way on the agenda. And some of these bigger, larger, more complex issues, again, like the boundary study, we haven't been on that at all. And here it's going to be of huge consequence potentially for Lafayette, Deal, and Jackson Reed parents.
Yep. Commissioner.
Yeah, I'd like to resist the reductionism of that is entailed by the very formulation here. Connecticut Avenue bike lanes. It's the official name of the project. It has more safety improvements on Connecticut Avenue. And so to reduce it to bike lanes is misleading and just wrong. So I'm not on board with that formulation.
Point well taken. Okay, let me move on, commissioners, because we're running out of time. So let's go up to the WMATA predicted budget cuts, transportation. That falls in transportation. Doesn't have to necessarily be under the new transportation committee, but
I volunteer for that.
okay.
I will I will also, in that the E6 is the principal bus route that the commission has already passed a resolution.
Yeah.
It didn't pass a resolution. It wrote a letter to WMATA stressing the restoration of the E6
Absolutely.
in the context of the review that WMATA has been doing of Metro Bus and Metro Rail. Those that are following, however, the current budget situation of WMATA understand that there's a crisis brewing.
It's a crisis.
Yeah.
Could I ask a quick question? And I don't know if any of us have the answer, but we're going to have to do budget testimony in the coming months. And where does the WMATA budget come up in the DC budget process?
I believe.
Yeah, I mean, because again, it's one of those things where we have our loudest voice speaking to
So
city.
we've done WMATA testimony before, if I'm not mistaken. Matt, is that under transportation? If we do budget testimony for WMATA? I can't remember if it's or under the general committee of the whole. We'll find
So
it.
for people online, we're talking to the Ward
Which
3
committee?
the mayor's representative
Okay.
about this.
I'm thinking that, yeah, but I'm not, because I know WMATA is odd. Okay, we'll work that out. But let me just say for this, traditionally, the commissioners, Barnaby Woods, Hawthorne, have like really stuck together on the budget in terms of transportation, bus routes for our areas because we're most affected. So Commissioner Nash, I know you're going to do transportation, so I would suggest that me, you, Bruce, and if Commissioner Zeldin wants to join, because we definitely have the most affected community members.
So, but I want to be sure if I heard this or not. Budget cuts are part of it, but don't we also want to focus on the possible rerouting of bus lines?
Oh,
from, because they're
Yeah.
talking about McKinley to military, and then
Right.
of course there's the loss of, so shouldn't that be?
yeah.
But
If we can get together, I think, Bruce is right. We can get together and see how we want to structure it. But Commissioner Gosselin is also right. We got to keep in mind that budget oversight and performance oversight is coming, and we want to have this, I would say, for both budget and performance oversight. Okay, so thank you. Chevy Chase Historic District. I know that the group has asked to have that on the agenda. We need to have a commissioner running point on that. So-
Well, let me suggest that I want to be involved because it covers part of my SMD. I asked Commissioner Lynch whether he'd want to be involved too, because it's very importantly part of your district. And I think that this is an issue that we're going to have presentations by the Chevy Chase Conservancy that's pressing for a historic district, and we're going to have presentations by Living Chevy Chase and others who oppose the district. And I think that per Commissioner Sherman's comment, this is precisely an issue that we know it's pretty well formulated and that we can start pretty quickly to think about a special meeting and these presentations. We know it's going to come up this winter. So.
Yep. Okay. Commissioner Lynch? Yes. Are you okay with that? Yep. Okay. And that's helpful because it'll let the community members that are starting to organize on this issue know that you two are the point contact. So that's great. Thank you. DCPS boundary study.
Yeah, so again, count me in on that.
Okay.
I'm happy to help. I know Michael, obviously,
Yeah.
Lafayette is in his single member district, so I'm sure he wishes to be involved. Everyone has children though that
Yeah.
goes to these schools, so
I'm happy to help with that as well.
yep.
Yeah.
We should have an educator on an
Yeah.
education issue.
Commissioner Zeldin?
Yeah. So yes, Bruce's question, I absolutely want to be involved, and I posted, Lisa, in the chat, although we don't have the chat functional, but then I reposted it on the listserv and on the Chevy Chase Chatter Facebook page, that tomorrow and the following week, there are Ward 3 EdNet meetings with Mendelson on this. So if they post it on the listserv in time, it'll be there. It's on Chevy Chase Chatter. I sent Bruce to you and to you, Lisa, the links to register for these. One is on January 9 and one is on February 13. So people who want to get engaged in this boundary and student assignment process should start. This is a good place to start. They'll hold this with Jenny Comey and Rebecca Lee from the Deputy Mayor's Office for Education, as well as Anna Johnson's Ward 3 Parent Advisory Committee. So that's a place to get started on this thing if people are just new to the issue.
Okay. Thank you. Let me go to Mary Rouse online.
Mary,
Hi, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you. Hi, yeah, thanks for discussing the historic district issue. Could you all indicate a little bit more detail about when this meeting might be? Because I mean, you've had a lot more detailed discussions about the other issues on this agenda, and this was dismissed in a matter of 3 or 4 minutes. So I'd really like to hear a little bit more about how you anticipate taking this up, you know, when you think it might be able to be scheduled on the meeting, when this presentation meeting might occur. It would be helpful if you could spend a little more time. I've been on this call for over an hour and would appreciate a little more discussion on the issue.
So Mary, let me just answer that. That's not the purpose of this meeting. Is the purpose of this discussion is to just let the community know that it's on our agenda for 2024. And specifically with the historic district is to get commissioners to take up this as an individual topic. So Commissioner Gosselin and Commissioner Lynch are the commissioners assigned to it that have agreed to take this up. It affects their districts more than anybody else's. I would encourage you to reach out to them directly. They will be getting a plan together to discuss and have the community engaged in this process. And I'm sure they'll be willing to work with you going forward in that process. So we're just at the very beginning stage where none of these topics we really had planned on doing in-depth discussions. It's just to make sure that we know that it's on the agenda, to make sure we have commissioners assigned to it, and to start working in the future of getting it together. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Lisa, I just wanted to say that, you know, we really also need the Historic Preservation Office involved. And I don't, you know, I think that you're being a little bit too dismissive of this issue, because there was detailed discussions about the bioretention for at least 20 minutes or more, 25, 30 minutes on that. And I think it would be fair to just take a few minutes right now to talk about what the two commissioners have in mind, or what the ANC has in mind about this issue. The Historic Preservation Office ought to be part of that meeting. You know, just comments from the audience about what they're looking for. I think it's in fairness to this topic that was listed on the agenda, that you just take a few minutes and do more than just assign two commissioners who were already representing the area. We all know that.
So I'm going to encourage the commissioners to set up a time to work with you on that. We just cannot do that at this meeting. We had we didn't have any intention coming into the meeting to devote that much time to bioretention cells. So place the blame on me as chair for not moderating that conversation as much. But we are about 2 minutes into the completion of this section of the agenda. And as you guys know, I've been holding us tight to time. So I do want to move on, and I'm highly encouraging Commissioner Goslin and Lynch to get with Ms. Rouse and discuss this further.
Well, not just me, but the entire community, It's not just me.
And Mary, we're gonna do
Mary,
that.
we're gonna do that.
We're at a planning stage. I ask that you allow the commissioners, give them time. They've just been assigned this today to get themselves together and come up with a plan to engage the entire community.
May I
We're
just
going
make
to
one
do that.
request? May I make one request of this ANC? And that is that I think is when Randy Speck was chair, he took a lot of neighborhood issues. He respected the neighborhood in the sense that he took up neighborhood issues first. And I'm sure that the Ivy City community appreciates this ANC's involvement, and we can all support that resolution. If I could ever see what it looked like, I would too. But I think that in fairness to this community issues should be first in the ANC agenda, and anything related to other parts of the city or other issues that are not immediately relevant to the community here should be deferred to the end of the meeting or to some other point in the meeting after the community issues are discussed. Because a lot of people here wanted to, join the meeting, but they thought that they couldn't do it. So may I make that suggestion that for future agendas?
I'll be happy to meet with you tomorrow, if you'd like to meet tomorrow, to talk about what you think the ANC should be doing.
I think
on
a
the issue of
community
it.
meeting between all sides should be there. It shouldn't just be a private meeting with me and you, Peter.
All right, thank you. We're gonna move on. Public safety, we pretty much have a really robust engagement on that with commissioners, myself, Gore, Goslin, and Sherman. We've been working in the local areas, in individual single member districts, as well as community-wide. We did have NPD on schedule to attend this meeting and discuss, have an updated discussion with the community during the comment section, as well as the introduction of the new second district commander. But they had to cancel out due to activation of their civil disturbance unit. So I'm not sure what happened, but I think we're on good track with that. And in terms of traffic safety issues, Commissioner Nash, I'm assuming you're going to assume that under.
No, we're not there yet. We're not there.
Oh, here. Yeah.
So I'm just
Yeah.
assuming you're going to
Yeah,
assume
yeah.
that under the Transportation Committee.
And then there's a
Okay.
lot on that we are working in depth on already with DDOT, given the walk around that we had last
For
July.
sure.
And so we actually, on this, have serious issues around the traffic safety input system and the fact that I have a 2-block stretch of Rittenhouse with 14 traffic safety input requests that we impressed upon then Director Lott and our council member, Louis George. And we got the report back finally from DDOT on November 28th as to actions they would take on those. And zero of the issues that we raised did DDOT say it would work on outside of the traffic safety input system, which means you go into their ranking and the prioritization based on crash data and other factors that consistently rate our requests very low.
Right.
And therefore, so this is an issue that my constituents are screaming about. And I really have to work, I'll be happy to work with Commissioner Nash on this, but we've done a lot of work to date on it.
Great.
Great.
Okay. Thank you so much. That brings us within 3 minutes outside of that topic. And thank you, commissioners. Thank you, community members. We'll take all your suggestions into consideration. And again, this was just an initial, very initial discussion. We're going to get together an administrative meeting and come up with engagement plans and schedules for all of this. So with that, Commissioner Nash, I will turn this portion of the agenda over to you for discussion on the ANC proposed transportation committee.
Okay, thank you. At long last, this issue has been postponed, and apologies to those people who've been pressing for this committee to be introduced, and we think we can finally do it now. I want to start by saying if I am going to be leading this committee, I want to start by asking for help, because I've never led an ANC committee before. And so I don't really know what I'm in for, but I'm ready to learn. I also know enough about transportation issues here to know that there's a lot that I don't know. But my experience in 1 year as a commissioner is this is the number one thing I hear about from my constituents is transportation issues in general, and especially traffic safety and pedestrian safety. So what I'd like to do is encourage everyone who has any interest in this issue to send me an email at my ANC email address and get on my list, and then I will call a meeting very soon, maybe within a week, and we'll organize and meet. I'd also like to say my understanding of this transportation committee would be very broad. Down at ANC 3F, they have something called, I think, just crosswalks or something like that. And I think, as we've seen tonight, we should look at public transportation, parking for people who are relying on motor vehicles, pedestrian safety is maybe a number one issue, at least for me. But you know, I want to hear from everyone who's interested in this issue of transportation to hear what's on your mind. And especially, I think, Commissioner Sherman, you have a constituent, I can't remember her name, who's very knowledgeable about the bus lines. It'd be really great to have her join in, because you know we have a lot to learn there. So I think, well, I just want to end with one thing. One thing that I really took away from my reading of the survey on the small area plan, the number one thing that people like about living in Chevy Chase is the ability to walk places. And I love that. It's a number one thing I love. And so, at least for me, starting out, that's kind of at the top of my agenda. How can we make sure it's safe and pleasant to walk in this beautiful neighborhood that we live in? And if Commissioner Sherman would be willing to join me in this, I'd love to have his help, or any other commissioner who wants to step in, because I don't know what I'm doing here.
Okay, let me just say this. One of the first things that, and I'll work with you on the startup of the committee, because what you'll need to do is a resolution and sort of a charter. So I would look at the race committee. I would look at task force on racism. There's some other ANC resolutions that form the committee. So the ANC is going to have to vote on that. And you need to be very specific with the charter of your committee in terms of what the scope is going to be. And the entire ANC will need to weigh in on that. So I would say, depending on how fast you can work, realistically, that might be a February meeting.
Yeah.
Because those charters should be lengthy and detailed and explicitly state what you're going to work on. They will have in there also the co-chairs. So it could be you. What we've also done in the past is announce committees to the community. If we want to have a community co-chair, that might be something that you want to consider. Co-chairs don't have to be just ANC members, like race has 2 community co-chairs. So that's something that we also do. And I'll be happy to work with you on the technical part of getting that going.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on that? Any commissioners? All right. Commissioner, community, and agency announcements. Yeah.
Hello. Hi, everyone. My name is Matthew Barclay. I'm your Ward 3 MOCRs from the Mayor's Office of Community Relations and Services. Happy New Year. Excuse me. So I have some announcements. Oh, my number is, for people online, 202-340-7853. Email is matthew.barclay@dc.gov. Mayor Bowser today announced the Gallery Place in Chinatown Task Force. You can go to reimagine Chinatown and Gallery Place. You can go to bedowntown@dc.gov or .dc.gov to submit your ideas. Also, Mayor Bowser released this week. Mayor Bowser released the FY24 Green Book, which is the Small Business Opportunity Guide. You can see any opportunities that you might be able to take advantage of in that book. So I encourage you to go to dcgreenbook.com. Also, we were expecting snow this weekend. It did not happen, but in future, go to alerts.dc, alert, not alerts, alert, alert.dc.gov to get important weather information as things progress throughout the winter. Also, Mayor Bowser is pleased to announce that the Department of Forensic Sciences, their application for reaccreditation in their biology and forensic chemistry units has been approved. This department is responsible for testing and analyzing biological substances, DNA, drugs, and will support MPD investigations. So that's great news. Also, this past week, the director of Department of Human Services had the following statement about Give SNAP a Raise. DHS will move forward with the implementation of the temporary local SNAP increase funded and Give SNAP a Raise legislation. She's also stated that due to major budget shortfalls and workload pressures, in November, she advised the mayor that in the best interest of residents, it would be to prioritize sustaining vital human service programs over administering a new temporary local SNAP supplement. While fiscal and administrative pressures still exist, she advised the mayor that DHS will be able to make that program, will give the SNAP a raise. Hold on. This program will work while attempting to solve ongoing challenges. Apologies for that. Also, Christmas trees are being collected through March 2nd, 2024. Also today, I learned that if you put your tree on the side and it hasn't been collected in 7 days, put a 311 request in. And if for good measure, you want to email me, that is also fine. You can also drop your tree off at the Guy Mason Recreation Center. It's the closest one. We are in section B of leaf collection, which I believe is Peter and Zach's section. Section A has been completed, which I believe is everybody else. If you have missed collections, let me know. You have missed collections. Yes, I'm aware of some of them.
Hawthorne has quite a few.
Okay, we'll get on it. And that's all I have for today.
Thank you, Matt.
And the committee was the Transportation and Environment Committee.
Okay.
For the WMATA.
Thank you.
Lisa, I have a question for Matt.
Yep.
Hi, Michael.
Hi, I'm Matt. So when we were talking about bioretention, one of the speakers indicated that they thought they had heard that there was a hard stop on February 1st. Can you get back to us on that and let us know whether in fact that's true? Because it'll inform the timetable that we have to work under on this stuff.
Yes. I can.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Matt.
You're welcome.
Any
Oh,
more?
by the way, they
community-
did pick up, hey, Matt, they did pick up leaves on Tennyson Street today. So even though that was supposedly already completed, it got completed today.
Okay.
Good to hear.
Any more community announcements?
I've got it now.
Hi, this is Elias from Councilmember Fruman's office.
Hey, Elias, go on.
Hey everyone, I'll be really quick today. Elias Bemda, Legislative Assistant for Councilmember Fruman. You can reach out to me at ebenda@dccouncil.gov. Quick update on the Connecticut Avenue redesign. I don't know if I've given this one yet, but the council member sent a letter to the mayor on December 15th urging the release of the revised design for implementation of the Connecticut Avenue Multimodal Safety Improvement District. We have our budget listening session coming up January 20th online. You can get that information on our newsletter and website. And we also have a public safety forum at the Cleveland Park Library and virtually Wednesday, January 17th at 6 p.m. those are just the quick updates for now, but don't hesitate to reach out with any further questions, comments, or concerns. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Any more community announcements?
Yes, I have some updates. Good evening, everybody, and Happy New Year's. My name is Oscar Montiel, and I am the Constituent Services Director for Ward 4 Councilmember Janice Lewis George's office. I have a few updates that I want to share with you all. Listen As We Climb begins this month, and as the council member has done regularly since 2020, she will be holding community meetings in every neighborhood in Ward 4 this January to hear from neighbors and gather community input to shape our work on legislation, oversight, and the DC budget. In the past, the feedback we've received at Listen As We Climb meetings from neighbors and ANC commissioners has led to tangible legislation and budget investments on issues like abandoned vehicles, clean quarters, small business support, conflict resolution, etc. These meetings set the council members' priorities for the year, so please come and make your voice heard. The details for each meeting and sign up link can be found at www.janiceward4.com/listen/. Here are the tentative dates for key meetings. Chevy Chase, Barnaby Woods, and Hawthorne on Tuesday, January 16th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Lafayette Pointer Recreation Center. And Thursday, January 18th from 6 p.m. for a Ward 4 wide meeting focused on community safety at E.L. Haynes Public Charter School. And Wednesday, February 7th for Listen As We Climb for all Ward 4, and that's a virtual option. Some legislative updates. In December, Councilmember Lewis George passed the Work Order Integrity Act on its first vote, which is a bill that will improve communication between schools and DGS, as well as improve how repairs are made in our school system. Councilmember Lewis George also passed the Minimum Wage Clarification Act, a bill that would eliminate a loophole in DC's minimum wage law that has allowed employers to not pay their workers a living wage by rotating them around different work sites in and out of DC. Also, mark your calendar, our hearing on the Conflict Resolution Education Act to teach conflict resolution at all DC schools will have its hearing on Thursday, January 11th, and everyone is encouraged to testify. Teaching conflict resolution can instill lifelong skills that help students overcome conflicts, improve student behavior, build positive and lasting relationships, and make our schools and our communities safer. You can sign up to testify until January 9th or send written comments at the link until January 25th. And I can provide that link as well. I want to be mindful of the time. Please, if you haven't signed up for our Ward 4 newsletter, if you haven't received it yet, please sign up for our weekly Ward 4 newsletter at www.ward4news.com. After hearing from seniors with this specific request, we now also offer an option to receive the Ward 4 newsletter every Friday by text. All you need to do is text 202-286-5268 to be added to the text list. And those are the updates that I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more community announcements? Agency, community, commissioners? Any announcements, Commissioner Lynch?
Yeah, thanks to Matt Barclay and his team for getting the award ready for the former owners of the fishery who will be awarded on January 19th. We're talking about 4 o'clock. So anybody that has patronized that great place over the years, come on by and at the fishery. So January 19th, 4 o'clock, and we will hand them the award that they deserve. So thank you again for that, and that should be a good event.
Great, thank you. I have one announcement came in from the chat. Just a comment that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is a National Day of Service, And there is a great website with opportunities for service and engagement. That website is pointsoflight.org. Pointsoflight.org. Thank you. And in the chat from Laura Fennessy, this is for Matthew Barclay. When is a community engagement meeting on Lafayette Fields? If we could follow up with that. When can we expect designs or erosion control at Lafayette Park? And can we ask Matthew Barclay on behalf of Friends of Lafayette Park?
I have a date, but I don't know if I can say it yet. It will likely be at the end of the month. It will not be the rumored January 10th date. It'll likely be further at the end of the month, probably like very end of month.
The end of January?
Mhm.
Okay.
Hey,
So
Matt.
expect that. Say again.
Hey, Matt, in addition to the long list of things that Laura and others and I have been working on with you with respect to that, at that meeting, would you please be prepared to address the rumor or, possible reality of artificial turf on that field? Because people need to know that, because that's going to be a jihad if it happens.
DGS will be prepared. DGS, DCPS, and DPR will be prepared for that question. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
What was the other part? Oh, the erosion. So the erosion element from the upper field down to the baseball field will be taken care of with the design that they're going to be presenting. We are calling it the phase 3 of this project. The upper field down to Broad Branch will be later.
Okay. That's good. Thank you. Okay. And committee reports, we still have ZDD, race and Murray, project task force for committee reports. Peter, do you want to address anything? Is ZDD still?
Yeah, I'm gonna revive it, but I want to delay until we have a better sense of the kinds of stuff we're gonna do around Civic Core. I think we will shoot for reviving meetings in February.
Okay. Matt, real quick, can you give me your cell phone number again? Some people didn't get it.
202-340-7853.
7853. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Libby or Corinthia, anything real quick on the race? You have your 2024 meeting schedule. Do you want to go over that real quick?
Yes, so the only thing we have to report today is the approval of our 2024 meetings, which will be the third Tuesday of each month, at 7 p.m.
Got it. Okay, those dates are listed in the agenda. I'll put these dates under the race page on the ANC website along with the 2024 meeting link. That meeting link will not change. So the community has the scheduled meetings for the entire year and the meeting link for the entire year for race. And I'll put that on our website. Thank you, Corinthia. And Murray Project Task Force, Jenny or Michael, do you all have any update?
Just two really quickly, Lisa. First of all, we do have a meeting. I think Commissioner Sherman referenced it earlier on Wednesday this week at 7 p.m. We are going to vote on our dates, so we will get those out in our update, which we try to get 24 to 36 hours after the meeting, along with our minutes. We too will use the same Zoom link for all of our meetings throughout the year. So we will, that's posted in the chat, but we'll also include it in the update. As Commissioner Sherman said earlier, and we talked about in our last task force meeting, we're expecting construction to start, or the beginning of the process to start on the field
We were briefed by Murray at our last task force meeting, almost any day now. It'll start, I think, with, and correct me if I'm wrong, Bruce, but sort of light trucks or sort of prep work first, then moving into the parking lot and then into further stages. All of that is in our update, which we sent out to the listserv and is also posted. Lisa, I'm just going to make sure I spend some time with you tomorrow to make sure all of our updates are up on the site so people can find them. And we encourage everyone to join us, and looking forward to our next meeting.
Mr. Sherman, do you want to add? Okay, great. Thank you. That's perfect. Appreciate it. And we're right on time for commission business. Anything in the secretary's report? Oh, you're right. All right. Yep. Okay. Any, and Commissioner Ferguson is gone, so nothing on treasurer's report. So
I'm sorry. I could say this to Commissioner afterwards, but Commissioner Sherman, I'll be happy to work with you as Commissioner Gosselin did with me to help you, to tell you how I did it and help you get going. So we can talk about that. Okay.
Great, thanks.
I haven't gotten there. I'm getting there. Okay. Possible items for January 22nd, which is our next regular meeting. One thing I did want to mention, I had some initial conversations with Lafayette's LSAT to present for the ANC. We haven't got a date yet, so I'm gonna reach back out to them. And then Deal Middle School student presentation. Deal Middle Schools have students from our area have traditionally sent letters to the ANC. Some commissioners, I know I get a lot, and with their ideas for issues in the community. I worked with a teacher that my son had at Deal, who happens to be one of the teachers that a lot of the kids have, to see if we could do our response to them a little bit different going forward. And a little bit more engaged. And the idea was to have them come before the community and the ANC as a body of students and present their ideas and their letters to us as a commission and as a community. So we spend a little bit of time talking to them. We hear what their issues are. The ANC should respond to them as if they are community members with suggestions, maybe things that we could add into our agenda going forward. And it is a huge, huge civic lesson for the students because they will be coming before a body of elected officials and advocating for their desires. So to me, it's just a win-win. I'm so excited about it because I would individually respond. I know Commissioner Zeldin has gotten some, but I think we owe it and we can do. And I know me and Commissioner Lynch had talked about very early on, something that we could do with our students. And to me, this just sounded like a great idea. And the teachers are very excited. So the only thing that was holding us back was getting the 2024 meeting schedule. So I'm going to see if they want to present at January 22nd. And I will put that out on a listserv with a special notice, and whatever meeting they present at, I hope we get a large turnout for them because it's a tremendous effort that they do writing the letters. And I think it'll be an even greater effort to actually present these letters before the community, hear from the community and hear from the commissioner. So we should support our students. They're our kids. So that's great. Any feedback on that? Great. Okay. Commissioner Gosselin, did you have something?
Two items to add. I think that we ought to reserve a slot for getting DDOT here on the bioretention basins.
Okay.
That's one. Also, DC Plug has asked for time to do an initial presentation. Apparently, they're planning on doing some more undergrounding of electrical cables on maybe military, maybe McKinley. We need the presentation, but they've asked for time for the 22nd. So, okay.
DC Plug.
yeah, the, the same thing that's happened on Oregon Avenue. They buried the
Okay.
cables, yeah.
Two things. If DDOT is coming, I would like to see if they could address the traffic safety issues, these pending requests and the traffic
Meeting
safety
is
input
just about
system.
over. Sorry.
And also, I think it'd be appropriate, looking at our list of issues, to put a placeholder for the boundary and assignment study. I'm going to be doing a lot of work on that in the very near term. And I think Eric Goulet, we should
Yeah.
ask if he could come for what? For the boundary
boundary
study, the DCPS boundary study. Again, the final report is due in March. They're wrapping this thing up. So if we're going to have any meaningful input on it, we've got to jump on this toot sweet.
You want to see if we can get Goulet on the 22nd?
That'd be great. And
Okay.
also, the DME, the Deputy Mayor for Education, someone from that office, Matthew Barclay, that would be able to come and also speak to the study itself, because Goulet right now is positioned as a bit of a critic. He's voiced very serious concerns about it, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And this is something I want to add, where we would be able to engage our families with young children who obviously very rarely participate in our public meetings because they're home with their kids. I am very proud to say, going back to our survey, that we had 805 families with kids under 18 take the survey, which is to say families will engage. And on this issue, you can be sure they'll engage.
Right.
So we want to have ample time to bring that about, but I would just put that down on the agenda the next time.
Okay. Sounds good.
And Bruce, I'm happy to work with you on that, because we had, very good success on the military road school issue with our engagement with families affected by that. So you're absolutely right. People will show up for that issue. And Lisa, on this, the Deal Kids coming, it would be wonderful. I get letters every year from them. I type up a long response and I hand deliver them to the school, but I don't get any live feedback. So having live feedback after I deliver those letters would have been fun, but now it'll be great to have them in person.
That's
I'm also
great. I
happy
agree.
for us to think about going to the school and talk about being a commissioner and community service and that also.
That's great. I love it.
Residents are encouraged to explore boundary and student assignment study ideas under consideration and provide feedback at the DC School Interactive Boundary Explorer website. So DC School Boundary Explorer.com.
Okay.
Normal spellings. DC School Boundary Explorer.com.
Boundary Explorer.
Thanks. I sent that out to about 800 people on my mailing list today as part of the with a note on the study. That's
Bruce,
good.
did you post it on the listserv? You want me to do that, or you want me to?
I
also
can.
want.
I can do it. Sure.
You want to do that? And I'll do Chevy Chase chatter.
Sure.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, commissioners and community members and everyone that came out. The time is 8:32. The meeting is adjourned. I ask that everyone take your chair and put it over there if you can. I am very pleased we're adjourning again on time. Thank you so much and see you in the next meeting. Take care.